Welcome back. Have you noticed concern from all corners of our society about the stability of our democracy? We see obvious dysfunction in Congress where until Friday, leaders tolerated a scam artist congressman named George Santos for far longer than what seemed appropriate. Cries from both sides of the political aisle for months for his expulsion were slow-walked until a full investigation showed what media reports had uncovered a year earlier. We're talking about 23-count indictment handed down in October, charging him with conspiracy, wire fraud, false statements, falsification of records, aggravated identity theft, and credit card fraud. And even with those charges now in the light of day, there were still some members of Congress hesitant to vote to expel him, saying that they were concerned about the precedent it would set because he had not been found guilty in a court of law. Well, that was the sentiment of Pennsylvania Congressman Charlie Dent and others who were no doubt thinking of the 230 years of congressional history during which time only 5 members had been expelled from the House, 3 for disloyalty to the Union during the Civil War, and 2 more recently after federal convictions in felony corruption cases. Well, since Santos has not been convicted of anything, that explains the hesitancy of some, including House Speaker Mike Johnson. Even though most in Congress admit Santos is a liar and should never serve a day in Congress, the vote was 311 to 114, by the way, with every Republican from Southeast Texas except Dan Crenshaw voting to let Santos stay. Democrat Al Green voted president. Hey, someone else who has not been convicted but is facing a slew of charges across several jurisdictions. Former President Trump continues to lead the field in the race for the Republican nomination for president, which begs a question. How much has the Republican Party changed and what legitimate choices are being provided for conservatives? Hear me out. Shouldn't conservatives have a better choice than to choose between a former president facing 91 criminal charges, several of them associated with the January 6th insurrection that was an effort to subvert the will of the American people by subverting the Constitution? What does it say about a party that, according to polls, is ready to choose the oft indicted and criminally charged former president rather than a slew of other not indicted candidates? And more information comes out every day about Congresspeople still in office who are deeply involved in trying to deny the 2020 election of Joe Biden after he'd won. Perhaps this definition of cult answers part of that question. It is misplaced or excessive admiration for a particular person or thing, a cult of personality surrounding the leaders. Does that sound anything close to what's happening in our society today or in the Republican Party? I asked that question with the backdrop of Trump signs outside one of his arraignments that read, "Trump won." And speaking about the 2020 election that he still claims won, though no court in the country agrees, and he still has supporters in office who mostly skirt around that issue. Democrats have issues as well, but none of them are hinting at suspending the Constitution, building deportation camps, weaponizing the Department of Justice, and the mass firing of career civil servants like the former president has been openly talking about. And don't conservatives deserve a better option? And shouldn't the media do a better job of calling out the extreme contrasts being talked about that could possibly change democracy as we know it? These are just some of the questions that I have. Let me know your answers, but you need to do it quickly because I've only got one more Newsmakers program before I retire.